Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from. Then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. I've never been a great sleeper. I've had restless nights, bad dreams, insomnia during stressful periods, but nothing ever came close to what I went through after I moved into that apartment. I was 28, trying to rebuild my life after a messy breakup. My ex and I had been together for almost a decade, and the silence of living alone after all that noise, it was deafening. I moved into a modest one-bedroom apartment on the second floor of an older building in the suburbs. The place was small, but it had charm, hardwood floors, a creaky old radiator, a little balcony that faced a row of trees. I thought it would be perfect to start over. Quiet, peaceful. I had no idea that silence could be the most terrifying thing in the world. The first episode happened about a week after I moved in. I had stayed up late unpacking boxes and watching Netflix, passed out on the couch, and then moved to bed around 2 a.m. I remember lying there, scrolling through my phone, when I finally turned off the screen and closed my eyes. What came next didn't feel like sleep. It felt like I blinked, and suddenly I was awake, but frozen, completely paralyzed. I couldn't move a finger. I couldn't even shift my eyes. It was like being buried alive inside my own body. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. Then I felt it, that unbearable weight on my chest, as if something was sitting on me, pressing, watching. Out of the corner of my vision, I saw a dark figure standing in the corner of the room. I couldn't see its face, but it was tall and still, and somehow I knew it was looking at me. I tried to rationalize it. It's just a nightmare, a hallucination, this can't be real. But it felt real. The cold sweat, the pressure on my lungs, the unmistakable presence of something else in the room. Then it was gone. I gasped and shot up in bed like I had just been drowning. My heart was racing. My hands were shaking. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I thought it was a fluke. Just stress. I even laughed about it the next morning. But it happened again. And again. Every time, the figure came closer. First it was in the corner, then beside the bed, then leaning over me. The third time, I swear it whispered my name, Jess. The sound was breathy, almost curious, like it was testing how close it could get before I broke. I stopped sleeping. I started leaving the lights on. I even turned the TV to static just to have noise. But none of it helped. The figure returned every time I closed my eyes, growing more vivid, more real. One night I felt its hand on my arm, cold, long fingers grazing my skin, and I knew I couldn't take much more. When I tried explaining it to people, most didn't believe me. Just a bad dream, they said. Maybe you're stressed or overtired. But I knew it wasn't just in my head. I could feel it. Every night. Watching me. Waiting. After that night, I began sleeping on the couch with all the lights on. I'd drink coffee at midnight, scroll endlessly through my phone, anything to avoid falling asleep. But eventually exhaustion would win. And that's when he'd come back. It was always the same pattern. I'd drift off for just a few minutes, and suddenly, paralyzed, locked inside my body. I could hear everything, my breath, the refrigerator humming, the ticking of the wall clock, but I couldn't move. And I could feel it, always, before I saw it. That change in the air. The pressure. Like someone had opened a door that should never have been opened. The fourth time it happened, he touched my face. I don't know how else to describe it. His hand was cold and rough like dried leather. He didn't speak this time, didn't whisper my name. He just stared, inches from my face. I couldn't see his eyes, just this inky blackness under what looked like a hood or shadow, but I could feel him studying me. And then, I felt tears running down the sides of my face. Not because of pain, but because in that moment, I thought I was going to die. It was the most helpless I'd ever felt. Worse than the breakup, worse than any panic attack. I was wide awake, fully aware, and completely frozen while something not human stared me down. The morning after, I made a doctor's appointment. Sleep paralysis, they called it. Triggered by trauma, stress, irregular sleep patterns. It all made sense, technically, but none of the explanations made me feel safer. Because no matter how many medical terms they threw at me, none of them could explain him. I started therapy, got some medication. It helped me stay asleep longer, but the episodes didn't stop completely. They just got quieter, less frequent. The figure stopped touching me. He just stood by the bed now, watching. The worst part, even when I was awake, I'd sometimes feel that same presence behind me, like walking past a mirror and catching something over your shoulder, but when you turn, it's gone. Or hearing footsteps in your bedroom when you live alone. It's been almost a year now. I'm doing better, I guess. Sleeping more, eating better, but I still avoid sleeping on my back. I still keep a night light by my bed, and I still dream about him sometimes. People say it's just your brain playing tricks on you. Chemicals, neurotransmitters, fight or flight gone haywire. Maybe they're right, but I'll tell you this. When you wake up at 3:12 a.m. with your chest pinned, your mouth sealed shut, and something whispering your name from the dark, it doesn't feel like science. It feels like something else. I'd been driving trucks for over 8 years when it started. Long hauls, endless highways, living out of a cramped cab with fast food wrappers and a thermos of coffee as my only companions. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Or at least, it did, before sleep became my enemy. The first time it happened, I was parked at a rest stop just off Route 93 in Nevada. Middle of nowhere. Just dirt, dry brush, and a couple of flickering street lamps. I'd been on the road for nearly 16 hours straight, no real breaks. My back ached, my eyelids were heavy, and I knew I needed rest before I ended up in a ditch or worse. I climbed into the sleeper cab, shut off the engine, and lay down with my hoodie over my face to block the light. It was hot as hell inside, but I was too tired to care. I remember closing my eyes, and then suddenly opening them again. But everything was wrong. I couldn't move. Not even a finger. I was fully conscious. I could hear the buzzing of a fly near the windshield, feel the heat sticking to my skin, but my limbs were frozen. I was pinned down by something invisible, and I couldn't scream, couldn't twitch, couldn't even gasp. And then, I heard the radio turn on. I hadn't touched the dial. Static filled the cab, but underneath the noise, I swear there was a voice. A man's voice, low and rasping, saying something over and over again. I couldn't make out the words, but they were definitely there. Repeating. Building. Then I felt it. A shift in weight on the mattress. Something climbed in with me. Slowly. Deliberately. I felt the dip beside my legs, then the pressure as it moved up toward my chest. My eyes were wide open, and I saw nothing, but I could feel it. Right next to my face, I heard it exhale. That's when I finally broke free. I sat up so fast I slammed my head against the side of the cab. I was panting, heart racing, drenched in sweat. My radio was off. There was no one there. But the feeling hadn't left. That weight, that voice, it lingered. I chalked it up to stress, maybe even dehydration. I convinced myself it was a vivid nightmare and kept driving the next day. But from that night on, every time I tried to sleep in the truck, it happened again. The same weight, the same voice, the same paralysis. Only now sometimes it came with laughter. Low, distorted laughter outside the cab, like someone circling the truck. One night in Utah, I pulled into an old gas station, one of those off-the-map places that had probably been closed for years. No other vehicles, no working lights, just the creak of rusted signs and the wind. I was too exhausted to care. I killed the engine, climbed into the back, and shut my eyes for what I hoped would be a quick nap. Big mistake. It started again within minutes. My body froze. Limbs stiff. Eyes wide open. I could hear everything. The moan of the wind through the cracked window, the metal frame of the cab shifting with the breeze. And then the laughter came back. That same warped, guttural chuckle. This time, it wasn't outside the cab. It was right behind my ear. I couldn't move. I couldn't even flinch. Just lie there and listen as the laughter slowly faded into whispers. I couldn't understand the words, but they were relentless. Overlapping voices now, circling me like vultures. One of them hissed something like, "You're still awake." I thought I was going to die. Not from whatever was happening, but from the sheer terror of it. My heart thudded so loud I thought it might stop. Then came the sound of fingers tapping on the window, rhythmic like a slow, deliberate knock. I was parked in the middle of nowhere. There was no one out there. And yet, I saw the hand. It was pale. Long fingers. pressed against the glass from the outside. The rest of the arm faded into shadow, but the palm flattened as if trying to feel through the window, searching for a way in. I couldn't scream. I couldn't blink. I just stared as the hand slowly slid downward, leaving streaks of fog behind. And then, just like before, everything vanished. The moment I could move, I practically kicked open the cab door and stumbled into the dust. My legs gave out, and I dropped to the ground, gasping for breath like I'd just been pulled from the bottom of a lake. That night broke me. I called off the last leg of the delivery and drove straight home the next day. I didn't care about the company, the deadline, or the bonus. I just wanted to be somewhere, anywhere, but inside that damn truck. At home, I saw a sleep specialist. Told them everything. They said it was textbook sleep paralysis, made worse by my brutal schedule and lack of REM sleep. They gave me meds, breathing routines, meditation apps. I nodded, took the pamphlets, but deep down I knew. Sleep wasn't the problem. Sleep was the door. It's been months since I quit long hauls. I work local now, no more sleeping on the road. But sometimes on quiet nights, when I'm alone in my room and the wind picks up outside, I still hear it. The whisper, "You're still awake." College was supposed to be the best time of my life, or so they say. For me, it started off pretty normal. Late-night ramen, cramming for midterms, pulling all-nighters with Red Bull and bad coffee. I shared a cramped dorm room with a guy named Kevin, quiet, polite, the kind of roommate who mostly kept to himself. We weren't exactly close, but we got along. It all started during finals week. I'd gone almost 3 nights without proper sleep. Just short naps between study sessions, headphones blasting white noise to keep my anxiety from chewing through my spine. I remember lying down one night, thinking I'd close my eyes for just 10 minutes, and then I couldn't move. My eyes snapped open. My body didn't follow. My arms, legs, even my jaw frozen. I tried to call for help, to scream for Kevin, but my throat was locked up like someone had pressed pause on everything but my mind. And then I saw him. Kevin. Not sleeping in his bed. Not at his desk. He was standing in the corner of the room, just watching me. No phone, no laptop, no movement. Just standing completely still in the dark. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could do was blink. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stared. When I finally snapped out of it, gasping, panicking, drenched in sweat, I looked over. Kevin was asleep in bed. Or at least, he looked like it. I couldn't tell if it had been real or some weird hallucination. I laughed it off the next morning. Told myself it was just stress. Finals mess with your head, right? But it kept happening. Every night I tried to sleep, I'd fall into that same paralyzed state. Same pressure on my chest. Same sensation of being watched. And every single time, Kevin was there. Sometimes standing over me. Sometimes whispering. Once, he was crouched beside my bed with the weirdest smile I've ever seen. Like he was enjoying the whole thing. I started avoiding sleep, walking around campus until 3 or 4 a.m., just so I could collapse from exhaustion without going through that nightmare again. But even then, I couldn't escape it. One night, I fell asleep in the library for just 20 minutes, and it happened there too. Same paralysis, same figure, still Kevin, smiling, always smiling. I knew I was losing it. I stopped talking to people, skipped meals, flinched every time Kevin entered the room. I couldn't tell anymore if I was paranoid, hallucinating, or if something real was happening. But the worst night, the one that made me question everything, came right after our last final. I was exhausted. My body had basically shut down. I crashed around midnight, thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd sleep through the night. But as soon as I closed my eyes, it hit. Paralyzed again. The shadows felt thicker this time, like they were swallowing the room. Kevin was there, but this time, he was standing right at the foot of my bed, grinning. I tried to scream, but my lungs wouldn't work. He leaned in slowly, bent down until his mouth was near my ear, and he spoke. "It's okay, Ethan. I know what you did." That broke me. I came out of it gasping like I'd been drowning. I bolted upright, and Kevin was lying in bed across the room, sound asleep. But the words still echoed in my head. I never told anyone about what I did during that one exam, looking at another student's answers for a few seconds. I thought nobody saw. I never spoke about it, not even once. So how the hell did Kevin say that? The next morning, I filed a request with housing to change rooms. I didn't care if I had to sleep in a janitor's closet. I just needed out. Luckily, someone in another dorm was moving out, and I switched rooms the same week. The night I moved into the new place, I slept for 10 straight hours without interruption. No paralysis. No voices. No Kevin. It's been over a year now. I've read up on sleep paralysis. I understand the science behind it. The stress, the brain locking down during REM sleep, the hallucinations. I get it, but sometimes, when I'm lying in bed with my eyes closed, I hear that voice again. Just faintly. It's okay, Ethan. I know what you did, and I still don't know if I was ever truly alone in that room.